Hello friends, Coach Bob with you, and today we are going to be answering a question that I've gotten a couple of times in the last few months from parents. Yeah, parents, that's right. I think you might find this little question interesting, and it's one that keeps kind of resurfacing, not only of the parents of small children, but of parents of grown children, like I have grown children. I have a 27-year-old son that this definitely applies to. So we're going to talk about that right after this. All right, well, welcome back. So what is the question? The question is this: Coach Bob, do you feel safe allowing your children to ride a motorcycle in a dangerous, crazy world that we live in? When you read about things happening to other motorcyclists, or you may even know other motorcyclists that have been injured or even killed. So let's back up a little bit and let's talk about that aspect of it, the fear side of it, the things that as parents we do look and we go, I'm willing to assume that risk. But that doesn't mean that I want my child to assume that risk. We have a good friend of ours who had a brother die on a motorcycle and a father have a severe brain injury. We also had an acquaintance just this week. She was the passenger on a motorcycle who died on the scene of an accident. So we obviously understand the risk associated with motorcycling. One of my riding buddies had a compound fracture and almost lost his leg from the knee down. So we do know that motorcycling can be dangerous. But can that danger, can it be mitigated? Can it be controlled? Not completely. But are there things that we can do to make it less risky? And can you instill those qualities on your child so that you're not a train wreck and that you don't feel bad if you're encouraging them to ride? So the answer that I have for me, now I can't answer for you, and I wouldn't want to even try to do that, just like I wouldn't want someone trying to answer for me. My son wants to start riding. Now I'm going to give you a little background about my son. You know, he is the Navy guy in that picture up there that I've been asked several times, who's the sailor in the picture? That's my son. He's 27 years old, and he rode a two-wheeled motorcycle when he was a boy. Now, I'm not going to tell you he was a real rider. He was a typical 10-year-old, 11-year-old boy who rode around the backyard, who we took to a park and allowed him to ride. He was never a highly skilled rider, never a racer, nothing like that. And he rode only in the grass and dirt fields and yards and things like that. Fast forward, years, over a decade goes by and he doesn't ride at all. I mean, not at all. And 2 visits ago, he rode the Spyder and he really, really liked it. But he told me, he goes, Dad, I want to ride, but I want to ride a two-wheeler. And I understand that. I remember being the young man and all that. And I go, man, okay. So the last time he visited, he told me, he goes, I'm afraid to ask you, but I'm going to ask you. I won't be upset if you tell me no. He goes, do you care if I ride your SV650? So I told him, absolutely you can ride it, and don't worry about it if you drop it, because that's part of learning to ride. I hate to tell you that, but that is part of learning to ride. I told him, you're going to wear the proper gear. And here's what I had him wear. I had him wear this AGV helmet with a communicator so that I could speak with him while he was riding. I had him wear a pair of Alpinestars SMX 1R vented boots. And I had him wear a pair of Alpinestar armored gloves and riding jeans with CE rated armor in the knees and abrasion resistant materials inside the butt and the hips and the thighs. And I had him wear my Alpinestar jacket, which has CE rated armor in the back, the shoulders, and from the elbow all the way to the wrist. Now, we were riding in my neighborhood, purely left-hand turns around a block that's 1/2 mile long. That's a half, 0.5 miles long. And we got out there and it was hot, man. It was really hot that day and he had all this gear on. He stalled the bike several times, which wasn't a problem. We all do that when we learn. We probably went around the block 10 times. So we're talking only 5 miles of riding. We're not talking a great big experience here. So how did he do? Would I want him to get out on the main road after 5 miles of riding experience? I think that would be irresponsible. However, we rode that time. We went out again, and we went out again, and we went out again. I was able to communicate with him via a Cardo Pack Talk and tell him exactly what he's doing right, what he's doing wrong. And when we would stop and sit down, we would debrief and discuss what he did right and what he did wrong. Now, I've had comments made, oh, you know, Coach Bob, you know, you were nervous when your kid was riding your Spyder or whatever. I really wasn't nervous. And honestly, he drove more responsible than I did, just being quite frank with you. He is very responsible now at the age of 27. Could he get hurt on it? Absolutely he could. But step one is wear the right gear. And step two is practice in an area that you can safely learn a skill. And I think that if you do that, if those two fundamental building blocks are there and you're patient, I think you can safely do it. Now, there's risk associated with motorcycle riding, and that is absolutely undeniable. But you can lower that risk dramatically by simply wearing your gear and learning to do it properly. The third thing that I think that a new rider, and when I say a new rider, I'm talking an adult. You know, the guy that hasn't ridden in 15 years, 10 years, whatever, or maybe never ridden before, and all of a sudden they decide they want to ride a motorcycle. The most powerful tool that you have to make you a safe rider is this tool right here. I'm going to grab it. It's right over here. There it is, right there. Your brain. Your brain is the most powerful tool to make you a safe rider. If you can find that person that wants to ride, in this case, my son, wants to ride, he wants to do it responsibly, he wants to learn the skill, he's willing to take the time to do it properly, then I give him my hearty approval and I actually encourage him to ride. I know there are those parents out there who would say, Coach, you have lost your mind. And that's okay. I'm all right with that. Look, people have been traumatized. They've seen horrible things. They've had horrible experiences. And look, if something happened to my son, it would be awful. It would be awful. But I also understand that in life, whether it's on a motorcycle, in a car, in a boat, all of these things, there's risk associated with it all. You know, we used to laugh, and this is one of the mariner things that you have to come to grips with. We used to always say, if you can't accept the fact that you might drown, you shouldn't be on a sailboat. And that's not meant to say you look forward to drowning. What that means is you've accepted the fact that it is a possibility. And so when a bad scenario arises, you don't panic. It's a perception. And I think that as long as you go into motorcycle riding, understanding that it is inherently dangerous and there is associated risk, that just the very nature of that you understand those things, then you can learn slowly, learn steady, create the right muscle memory, and you can do it as safely as you can possibly do it. The fourth thing that we are doing and that we are going to do soon, I am going to be going out to San Diego. There is a supermoto school out there. It's about $350 a day for it. They provide motorcycles, helmets, gloves, suits, everything, and virtually one-on-one training. Or if it's with my son and myself, it would be the two of us in a class together. Now, will I be kind of dumbing down my lesson and spending more money to maybe learn less? It's possible. But I still think that going back to the fundamentals, even for me, someone who's ridden, I've ridden my entire life, and I'm almost 60 years old, so I've ridden an awful long time. There are a lot of skills that I need to hone, and those are skills often that I might have never developed. So going back to a square one for me, I find beneficial. It will also be beneficial for us to do it together so that when he has a question, I can reinforce his lack of knowledge and maybe help him along his journey. Likewise, he can reinforce my doubts and help me with my foundational knowledge so that I can also become a better rider. So the plan for my son at this point, within the next couple of years, to pick up a motorcycle. That means that he is going to work on his skills on and off for the next 2 years. I believe that when he gets on the road, he will have less experience than me, but he can be a better rider than I am because he's younger. He develops muscle memory quicker. His reflexes are better. There are a lot of things due to the very nature of his age that I don't have. What I have the luxury of falling back on is experience. Loads and loads of experience. And what do they always say? The way to get experience is to make bad decisions. And I've made a lot of those. I've survived them. I hope that he never has the scares and the bad things that I've had happen on motorcycles, where I've collided with friends, where I've slid through the ditch on the side of the motorcycle and done stupid things and injured myself. And I pray that he never experiences those things. But I also know that in life, it's easy to get hurt and it's easy to make a bad decision and it's easy to take corners too fast. Again, these aren't decisions that he is making lightly, and it's not a decision, although it's not my decision for him. Obviously, he's a grown man. But if you were to ask me, do I encourage it? Do I fear it? Do I desire to ride motorcycles with my son? I do encourage it. I don't fear it. And I do look forward to riding motorcycles with my son. All right, so there you have it. In a nutshell, am I afraid for my kid to ride a motorcycle? Not really. Not really. Coach Vic, while discussing this topic with her earlier today over a meal, she was, I really don't want him riding a two-wheeler. I really don't want him riding a two-wheeler, Bob. I would rather see him on a Spyder. The Spyder is a safer piece of equipment. And she's right. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. As a guy who has ridden both of them, I will say hands down the Spyder is safer. It's less prone to you falling on it or taking that corner even too fast on it. It's just a more forgiving machine. It just is. Could he end up getting a Spyder? It's possible. I think what will end up being in his future is probably something very similar to my SV650. If he doesn't do something smaller than that, which we've discussed, maybe the DRZ 400 SM, which is a Supermoto 400cc motorcycle made by Suzuki. It's a nice little motorcycle, a fun motorcycle to ride, the kind of motorcycle that you can play on. On a track, it's fun. On the road, it's fun. You can get on a dirt road. You can still carve it up a little bit. And you can learn in a more forgiving environment before getting out on the main road. All right. Well, there you have it. My thoughts. You ask, there it is. Am I comfortable with my kid on a motorcycle? Yes, I am. So do me a favor this week. I want you to go out, buy the motorcycle of your dreams, eat right, take care of yourself, and remember, if you're not having fun, you are doing it wrong. Now, I'll see you on the road real soon. Hopefully one day I'll see you on the road with my son in tow.